What's up, guys? This is Riz from Castle Crypto, and today I wanted to talk about Steem Monsters. This is a card game that runs on the Steem blockchain. If you guys are not familiar with crypto collectibles or what a digital collectible is or a tokenized asset, I highly recommend you visit the page in the description below that describes what a crypto collectible is. If you're familiar with Bitcoin, Litecoin, or some of these other cryptocurrencies, you know that you actually own these assets. They're assigned to you on the blockchain and no one can take them away from you. They are censorship resistant. And some of these video games and card games that are coming out today are essentially function the same way, except you actually own the cards that are part of the game. For those of you who want to jump into some of these games, the problem has been that some of them are hyped up. They're launched on basically with no work done. You know, they promise all of these great features and cards and things, and then they don't actually follow through. Steem Monsters, on the other hand, is an extremely well-made game. I've actually met the founders, and I'm going to walk you through it and explain why I play this game all the time, and I feel like it's one of those communities that's slowly growing and has a ton of potential. As I mentioned before, you're going to have to learn about what a digital card game is and the way digital assets work. And if you're not familiar with the Steem blockchain, that's okay. If you've ever used steemit.com, the blogging platform, you're going to be familiar with Steem. But either way, you will need a Steem account to actually log into this game, and the game will create it for you if you don't have one. So here we are on the home screen, and I already have a Steem account and I'm logged in. And to start the game, you actually have to buy a starter pack for $10. Is actually a great price. It's very low, and to get in and start playing right away for only 10 bucks, in my opinion, is totally normal and valid. This game is definitely not a scam. I've been playing it for weeks now, and there are tons of players, as opposed to some other games out there that have basically no players, or other games like, at this point, Gods Unchained, for example, which only has a very restricted beta and is still giving away or I'm sorry, they're offering cards that you can buy, and they do, I guess, give some away in contests and things. However, most people can't even play that game. But with Steem Monsters, you can actually jump right in and play. Once you have a starter pack, what that essentially does is gives you the basic cards that you need to play the game. They're going to be very weak in level, but that's okay. You can still use them to experiment and understand the rules. And then over time, you can supplement your card packs by buying booster packs, which are $2 each. Now we're going to take a look at the buy screen here, and we're actually going to buy a pack today just to give you an idea of what it looks like when you buy blockchain assets. Okay, so we're going to use Steem Booster Pack. The connection is really quick through Steem Connect, which is really cool. What they do is they just immediately connect to an account that you have hooked up. So we're going to do that and actually buy a pack here just so you can see what we get. Now I already have a lot of cards, but it'll still be kind of fun to open one for you guys. So when you buy your booster pack, it's now assigning 5 cards to my account, okay, which I'm going to open now. So what we have here is the 5 cards that come in my booster pack, and you have a chance for common, rare, legendary, and epic cards. All the packs usually come with about 1 rare card, but either way, what I'm going to do here is just open them for you guys so you can see the cool little opening animation that comes. So there we go, we got 1 rare card. Here's a couple other common cards, which are indicated by the little gray symbol there. And you can see we have some cards, some of which I already have, but that's okay, because they can actually be sold or they can be combined to make them more powerful. So now we're going to go ahead and look at my collection here. And in this case, you basically just see all the cards that I already own from either opening packs or getting rewards by completing quests throughout the game, and also end of season rewards. So if you play for a certain amount of time, you earn a rating and then actually earn cards as well. Now you can own more than one of the same card, which is what this little number here indicates. And if that's the case, you can actually combine them to make them more powerful. So this level right here indicates the current card level, which is a 1, which is the lowest possible, and it can go all the way up to like 8 to 10 in some cases, which powers up the card. Sometimes it gives it more health, sometimes more speed, etc. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to go ahead and combine these 2 cards in this case, just to give you an idea of what that's like. What we're also going to do is take a look at the types of cards. So there are monster cards, which actually basically engage in battle, and then there are summoner cards, which you have to select in order to pick the type of element that you want when you're actually in battle, and we'll get to that in a second. So there's fire, which is indicated here: water, earth, life, death, dragon, and neutral. Neutral cards being cards that basically you can use across all of the teams, and they're generally lower in level or lower in skill, but if you use them creatively, they can actually make a lot of difference. Now, all cards actually also have a gold version, which are much more rare. However, those versions of the card don't actually give you any damage boosts or health boosts or anything like that. They're essentially the same card. They're just more unique and rare. And in the new tournaments feature, which we'll get into in a second, which was just released this month, some tournaments actually only allow you to use gold cards, which is a really cool feature. So if you have them and they're more rare, you could choose to sell them, or you could choose to use them in tournament play. So now we're going to take a look at the market, which is where other players sell cards that they no longer want, or maybe they have too many of. It's a great way to transfer cards from player to player, and again, because this is on the blockchain, everything is basically finalized. When one player gets a new card, it's theirs forever until they decide to either combine it with another card to make it stronger, or actually sell it or re-gift it again, which is really cool. Again, everything is listed by summoners, monsters, the edition, rarity, and the various elements. Just as a recap, monsters are the cards that you're actually going to engage in combat with, and summoners are actually the first card you select, which basically puts you on a team. So if you pick the fire summoner, then you have to pick cards that are in the fire splinter, as well as neutral cards. Same thing with water if you pick any additional neutral cards. So prices are pretty cheap right now. There's a lot of cards coming into the market, which is great, but it's a great way to increase your deck, especially if you want to move a little more quickly. So now we are going to actually take a look at a live battle. Here we are on the battle screen. One thing I highly recommend is you click this how to play section. It's really well laid out, walks you through all the different card types, the various splinters, what they mean, all of the card basics. So for example, there's a mana cost, which when you select your cards, there is a total mana cap that you must stay under in order to play a certain number of cards. It explains the various stats. The buzzsaw, for example, means melee. This is the speed rating. The higher your speed, the more quickly. It basically sets the order in which cards can attack, so a 6 is extremely high. Health and armor, and all of these various abilities, and when you select them, obviously it's going to matter what the other person picks to see how the battle actually plays out. So highly recommended you go through the how to play section, and especially this little abilities listing here where the cards, each individual card sometimes has an extra ability that's really useful, and you'll probably have to come refer back to this every so often once you get the hang of things, but once you become more of a seasoned pro, it will be no problem. Alright guys, we're going to go ahead and demo a battle, so I'll kind of try to explain the rules for you. We'll do a ranked match, and you can see how quickly an opponent is found. What's interesting is that each game has its own set of rules as you play more and more battles. So for instance, this last game I played, all ranged and magic attack monsters have the snipe ability. The game before that, melee and ranged monsters always hit their target, meaning that they cannot miss. In this one, weak magic attacks hit armor before reducing health. Typically, magic attacks ignore armor. So, these variations in the game are really cool. They kind of mix things up. But anyway, watch how quickly, once I click ranked, I will be entered into a battle with an opponent that will be found. Under 5 seconds, or about 5 seconds. Now, this rule is interesting. Reverse speed, so the slowest monsters actually will attack first. What's cool here is you can actually see what kind of cards your opponent has played in the past. So this guy's got a pretty solid deck, so this could be a challenging matchup. Now we have a mana cap here, which limits the strength of the cards you can add to one deck per play. So for example, you have to pick a summoner first, and these summoners cost 3 mana, this one costs 2, and the ones that cost 3 give you sort of an extra boost. So because we have a reverse speed situation here, I'm actually going to go with the fire splinter because there's certain cards here that I like to play under those rules. Now, again, when you're getting used to the game, just pick any random card, have some fun with it, see what you can do, learn what the cards can do. But in this case, we want to pick the slowest monsters, so I like to start with a nice melee monster that's super slow with a 1 speed here. There's a couple other monsters that are also pretty slow, but they're pretty costly, so we have to come through here and see if we can find some other maybe ranged monsters. Like here's 2. Let's see, we're at 14 of 17, so I have about 3 points left to spend. See if we can find somebody else that's fairly slow. So like this enchanted pixie, we might be able to stick in here. So this team is okay. I don't think we're going to do too well, depending on the strength of his cards, unless he picks somebody that's fairly weak. So we're going to go ahead and hit battle and see what happens. Now, the interesting thing about this game is that once you submit the fight, it is actually immediately submitted to the blockchain, and the results are actually already recorded. What you can do, though, is watch the battle. Cards here in the first position are considered melee cards, so the buzzsaw indicates melee attack, which means if you're in this position, you're allowed to attack. If you're in the back row here, you can only attack with magic or ranged, unless you have a special ability like this card has what's called the sneak ability, which actually does allow it to attack the back row. So most of the time, you'll find ranged monsters here. Speed is going to play a factor. However, in this game, it's actually reverse speed. So the slower monsters, like this pit ogre, is actually going to go first because he is the slowest, which is cool. Again, it randomizes the elements of the game to make it more interesting. So we're going to go ahead and click Rumble to watch the battle actually play out. And buffs are applied by your summoners. In this case, melee monsters get an additional bonus. Turn by turn, cards will be played, and you can just see how cards will lose health over time. They'll die immediately once health has basically been reduced to 0. And let's see who ends up pulling this one out. So right now we're doing okay. You can actually speed it up just to see the results happen more quickly if you want, or you can just skip right to the end for the results. And we're doing okay here. Looks like we're actually going to pull out a win. So ranged monsters cannot attack from the melee position. So once ranged monsters get bumped to the front, it's pretty much game over for that card. So that's the battle system. It's really fun and addicting. It's over rather quickly, so you can keep moving on to the next one. So as of March 2019, one of the brand new features of Steem Monsters is tournaments, and this feature is just really cool. It's a lot of fun. Basically, anyone can start their own tournament, create a set of rules that include the skill level or the level of the cards that are allowed to be played. So even a super advanced player that has very powerful cards will need to be reduced down to the approximate skill level that's set, in this case novice, in this case bronze league. You can also set the rules of the decks that you can use. So in most cases, all cards can be played, but in this tournament right here, only Alpha Edition cards can be used. Sometimes only gold foil cards can be used, which is really cool. Most of the tournaments right now have free entry, which is great, so you can jump in and attempt to get a piece of the prizes that are set. But because this is a sponsorship, essentially anyone can jump in here and make their own tournament. So for instance, we created one with some interesting rules, and basically you just say, here's the payout for anyone that's interested and would like to play. You jump in and it will have an arena that opens in a certain amount of days. You check in. The check-in process is super easy. While you're browsing Steem Monsters, a little notification pops up when the tournament basically that you're in is ready to go and occurring. So again, the game to me is just really well made. I've met the founders, and every aspect of it, in my opinion, has user experience in mind. They're forward thinking, and we have updated features like tournaments that just got released without a hitch. I mean, I haven't seen a single issue with it. I think this is all great stuff and a sign of things to come. So if there's anything negative to say about Steem Monsters, I would say right now there really isn't much. There really is no mobile version of the game. I do believe that at the end of 2019 there are plans to release a mobile app, which is really cool, so that way you can take the game on the go. But other than that, from what I've seen, the game is really fun. It's addicting. There's no bugs at all. I haven't seen a single issue with any of the blockchain transactions or like cards or rules. Of course, over time, there might be some balancing issues that they might have to work out with some of the cards. I'm sure new cards will be released over time. There's also quests and things that you can do in the battle section that allow you to earn cards only through certain rewards that are from completing quests. So at the end of the day, guys, I highly recommend Steem Monsters. I think this is a game that's going to last. Right now, it is currently the best blockchain game out there. I haven't found any game that operates as smoothly and is as much fun and has a super active user base. So if you want to learn more about both crypto collectibles, so non-fungible tokens, and true ownership of blockchain assets, check out the link in the description below. If you want to check out Steem Monsters, go ahead and check out the play link in the description below. And look, like I said, you're going to have fun with this one. I would get in soon, start collecting some cards, and I'll see you on the battlefield.